Hello everyone, I'm Alex Dykes, and today we're inside a 2015 Acura MDX taking a look at the two-screen infotainment system in the MDX. This is essentially the same system that you find in the Acura RLX as well. If you want to know more about the 2015 MDX, then go ahead and click that banner at the bottom of your screen, and you'll be taken on over to the full review of this particular vehicle. Now I have the camera angle zoomed out quite a bit so we can see what's going on here with the system. If you're not watching this in full HD, then go ahead and click that button right down there on your screen and get the full HD feed so you can really see the detail. Right down here we have a physical button command knob. We have some physical buttons for the climate control, single slot optical player, and then we have these two screens, an 8-inch screen up here and about a 7-inch touch screen right down here. Now what you can't see is below this knob we have an additional optical player, and that's for the rear seat entertainment system. Our particular MDX has that option. Thematically, the reason for the two screens is that so you can control your audio system and get audio system information on this screen at the same time that you're watching a map right here up on this screen or doing something else with the system. As you can see, there is a little bit of information crossover because right up here we can see that we're listening to Sirius XM. We're on channel 56 right there, and you see the same thing right down here on this smaller touchscreen display. Obviously, the controls for the touchscreen are the touchscreen itself. Right down here we have physical buttons for the climate control, as I said earlier. They're duplicated right here on this screen interface, so we can actually change the temperature right here on the on-screen interface or using that toggle. Right down here we have direct access buttons, and this button and control module right here controls this upper screen right here. So hit the nav button, we're on the nav, hit the phone button, we go over to the phone, info, front audio, rear audio, etc. Back button for that, menu as well. Now this screen works in tandem with this screen and it is contextual, so since I hit that rear audio button, we have another screen right here so we can choose the rear audio source, but we also have an audio menu right up there as well. Now I've zoomed in on the two screens so we can go over the features one at a time and it's a little bit easier to follow. Keep in mind that on this video I am using a polarizing filter on the camera, as you can see right here if I rotate it. That's to help control the light and get the best angle on these screens. They are very crisp in person, but with the reflected light, etc. in a video, I do need to use the polarizer, and that can cause the color to look a little bit peculiar in the video. So let's go over this touch screen here first. We can change our audio source by clicking the audio source. This is where you'll actually find the input buttons: iPod, USB, hard drive, rear DVD, AFM, AM, XM, optical disc player, etc. We also have Pandora app integration, AHA integration, that auxiliary input, a rear HDMI input, and rear composite video input, as well as Bluetooth streaming. It is very fully featured, and all versions of the MDX do have these options, except for, of course, the rear inputs right there. So that means you just click that Pandora button, and as long as you have the Pandora app on your USB connected smart device, it will start playing. There's no additional Acura app needed in this setup, like you would need the BMW iDrive app in order to do that on iDrive. That's not required with this system. Now once we're on that source, we can control it using this touchscreen interface right here, so we can change our selection, sort of the genre there, and then you can change the channel within the genre. You can access your presets by clicking the preset button right there as well. The more button takes you on over to sound settings. You can also save presets, screen settings, you can scan, and you can change the XM tune mode. That shortcuts button is kind of interesting because if we click on over there, you can actually create shortcuts for all sorts of different things. So you can actually create a shortcut for your climate control system. So if I like it 68 in here and I like my seat on auto and I like the rear climate control on, then I can set that as a preset, and my spouse or other person that's driving the car can have their own particular entry there. That is quite handy. We can also have phone presets right here. It's reminding us what we can do with those. We can enter them right in there. And of course we have direct access to the dial button. We have places right there. You can set the same sort of shortcuts right there for the navigation system. Then we also have audio shortcuts, which are very useful as well. Now, as I said earlier, down here we have the climate control button, so we can click that and adjust the temperature. We can click right on over here to the cooled seat. Our particular vehicle does have the optional cooled seat. We have an auto mode, which will automatically cool or heat the seat depending on the temperature outside and the temperature requested. You can change how the air is coming out. That's auto mode right there. We can change our fan speed. We can turn air conditioning on and off, sync them all together, etc. You can hit the auto button right down there. Recirculate, rear air conditioning system. And we also have the passenger auto-cooled seat, and then the last zone right over there. Now that I've switched the input to my iPod, you can see why I find the system a little bit half-baked sometimes. That's because the concept was supposed to be that you use this screen for the audio, while you reserve this screen for your navigation system, but that's not necessarily the whole picture, because right down here we can change our tracks forward and backward, as you can see right there. We can use cover flow to change albums on our system using that interface right there. That is a little bit sluggish. but you really can't browse your iDevice. If we click the More button right over there, we just get shuffle, repeat, screen settings, sound settings like we did in XM, but there's no real way to browse your iDevice using this screen. Instead, that's done using this screen up here and that rotary command knob. So if I start rotating the knob, you can see that it's starting to look down the playlist that we're already on right here, toggle it right next to that to choose artists, albums, genres, playlists, etc. This is all voice commandable using the voice command system that is optional in the MDX. It's not included in the base model, but every other model of the MDX does have that voice command system. It is very fully featured, and it is also very fully featured to browse around your iDevice that way. However, when you actually select a tune on there, as you can see, it now changes that down here on this display, but you cannot use this display to actually browse the iDevice. It means you can't be watching the map, for instance, and browse around your iDevice. If we move on over to the map interface, we have a very fully featured map interface. It also displays local road traffic, so that is a nice touch. So if you're on the highway, we have Sirius XM traffic, but if you actually zoom in on a local road, say this road right down in here, then you can actually see local city traffic as well, which is kind of a handy feature. If we want to enter an address in the system, that is very easy. We can just click the menu button right down lower in the dash, which is a dedicated button. We're taken right on over here to the navigation menu. You can scroll around and choose which option you want. We're just going to choose address right here. And you can see that the input method is very natural and very easy in this system. If we choose a city name right there, you can see that we actually have two different input methods. We can use the scroll wheel right here to try and enter a city name, or we can just type it on this keyboard here, which I do find an awful lot easier to do. Right there we choose the city, back up here on this screen. Now we're on the street name, so now we switch back to this screen down here. And if we type that, and again now up here, so you can actually select the street, that's selected. Now we're back on either one in order to enter the last few digits. Let me click OK. Then the system will now see that as a destination, and then we can enter that destination, choose routes, etc. If we click on over to the phone interface, we do have a fairly typical Bluetooth phone interface, speed dials, call history as well. If you do want to use a dial pad in order to interact with your phone, you can click that on that touch screen, click phone, and then we have a dial pad right down here that we can use to interact with your phone, and then hit the send button to actually dial. If we click on over to the front audio button, which is right down there below this touchscreen, it's a dedicated button, you'll notice this upper screen does change back to the audio interface, but this lower screen stays on this dial keypad until you either close it or until it times out, and it will time out eventually, and then we can close those and we're right back to that content. If we hit the rear audio button, right now you'll notice that the rear entertainment power is off in our system. We can actually turn that on. There's a dedicated power button down lower in the dashboard. We can use the DVD player that's right here in the dashboard. We can also choose the rear audio source from any of the available audio sources, and you can choose the video source from either this system right up here or from the remote control that's actually integrated into the ceiling right back there for that rear seat entertainment display. Overall, I find this system relatively intuitive. I am liking it a little bit more the second time around than the first time I experienced this system. I do still think it is a little bit silly that you can't browse your iDevice or your USB device or your media library using this touchscreen right here. I find it a little bit odd that I have to use this upper screen, which I don't find quite as convenient. Still, I would rather get this system than Mercedes COMAND. COMAND is getting a little bit old. Volvo's Sensus is also a little bit of a step behind this. BMW's iDrive, however, is definitely a step ahead. The two-screen setup is definitely an attractive look, and it looks a little bit more modern, a little bit more up-to-date than you'll find in the Buick or the Lincoln. However, MyLincoln Touch is a little bit easier to use in the system. It does seem a little bit better thought out as well. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Go ahead and click that subscribe banner at the bottom of your screen so you can be updated on all of my latest videos, including the full review of this 2015 Acura MDX. You can always send your questions to alex@alexandautos.com. You can find me over at facebook.com/alexandautos, and I'll see you next week.